If you believe that the Bitcoin ETF will be a success, that Blackrock's ETF will be approved, that Fidelity's ETF will be approved, then don't buy Bitcoin. BlackRock's Bitcoin ETF got refiled after the SEC asked for more information. And Coinbase was named as a surveillance sharing partner. And so it looks like Coinbase becomes the central part of all of these traditional finance ETFs to handle the information flow, to potentially handle the dealing, maybe the custody. Coinbase will be at the center of all of this. Now, I'm sure you've never seen this chart. This is a Coinbase chart, but not a US dollar denominated chart. This is the Coinbase stock price divided by the Bitcoin price. And historically, this did pretty poorly. It's down 50% versus Bitcoin. But note how those ETF applications, they create quite some excitement, and we are not yet at a peak. So in the last 3 weeks, we went up by 34%, and I would not be surprised to see continued outperformance if that ETF does get approved, or if those ETFs, right, it's more than just one, do get approved. So of course, Bitcoin will gain from this, but Coinbase, relatively speaking, is likely going to gain even more from this. Now, I approach stock investing very similar to crypto investing. So I'm always looking at relative performance. I don't care about US dollar valuations. What's most important is, do you have opportunity costs when buying something? Should you put the capital rather in Bitcoin, or rather in the Nasdaq ETF, or rather in a Coinbase stock? And unfortunately, that's where most stocks and most altcoins fall flat. Most of them underperform versus Bitcoin. That's for the altcoins. And most stocks underperform the Nasdaq. So let's have a look at this. Take Amazon, for example. And let's not look at the US dollar price, but at the price relative to the Nasdaq. Amazon divided by QQQ. So this is a very common Nasdaq ETF. And see how this is not outperforming anymore since June of 2016. So 7 years of sideways trading action versus the Nasdaq as a whole. So when you see a chart like this, why would you take on the idiosyncratic risk of Amazon? Amazon at some point could go bankrupt. The Nasdaq as a whole, as an index, has zero chance to go bankrupt. So when getting into an individual stock, you want to see outperformance relative to the benchmark. Otherwise, why not just buy the safe benchmark? And of course, Coinbase relative to the Nasdaq also did very, very poorly. But that's not the point that I'm trying to make here, right? It underperformed 78%. So just by looking at this chart, you would not get into Coinbase. But we just talked about this relative to Bitcoin. So it would be Bitcoin money or crypto money that you would then alternatively be deploying to Coinbase. Now, I don't have a crystal ball either. I don't know if those ETFs get approval, because in the end, Coinbase is getting sued by the SEC, right? The SEC is charging Coinbase for operating an unregistered securities exchange, broker, and clearing agency. But at the same time, BlackRock expects the SEC to accept Coinbase as one of the main data providers to avoid market manipulation, wash trading, etc. The history of BlackRock is great in terms of ETF approval. I think only 1 out of 500 applications got rejected in the past. But here, the SEC has a pretty strong case to do a rejection. There's probably good reason why Coinbase wasn't mentioned in the past, in that prior application. The market overall expects that these applications do get through, right? This was the initial crash, a 3% drop in Bitcoin when the SEC asked for further clarification. We've recovered completely from this drop. But if that's the case, right? If these ETFs really get approved, then Coinbase will be at the center of all of this. Coinbase will benefit massively from this, and so it's likely going to do better than Bitcoin, at least in the short term. As said, most stocks underperform the index, most altcoins underperform Bitcoin and ETH. But you can actually make money from this. You can make money from the Satoshi valuation of altcoins going down. So the altcoin measured in Bitcoin going down, you can make money from this. It's very hard to pick the next Pepe coin, the altcoin that outperforms. It's easy to pick just a random altcoin that does worse. That's how I personally generate my outperformance over just buying and holding Bitcoin. Now, making money with falling prices is actually easier than making money from rising prices. And that's because of the return distribution in crypto. Very few altcoins outperform Bitcoin and Ethereum. The vast majority has very poor tokenomics. It has expanding token supply. It doesn't have enough people jumping onto the project. It has a lot of potential competition, and that makes most altcoins underperform. So it is easier to bet on falling prices of the poorest altcoins than it is to find the needle in the haystack, to find the one altcoin that might do better than Bitcoin. If you just select a random altcoin out of the top 100, chances are that you're going to do worse than Bitcoin. The chances are probably above 80%. So it's easier to generate alpha on top of just holding Bitcoin by betting on falling prices of poor performers. And the first time where I did this very publicly on the YouTube channel was with the Pancake Swap token. So this is the chart, Cake relative to BNB. It really crashed. And we totally anticipated this crash more than 50% because of the unlock of the staking program of Cake. Now you don't have to trust me, simply just look at the history in Premium here with the keyword Cake. We talked about this all the time, starting even from the 3rd of January 2023. So this was over here. And so this is how I handle my videos. I never delete any Premium video. I never delete any YouTube video. You can track back what I've said in the past and simply look at how this ages. And I'm for sure not right all the time, but since statistics are in our favor when we bet on falling prices, I am more often right than wrong when it comes to shorting altcoins. Now here's another example. This is Filecoin. This is falling relative to Bitcoin. It's still an open position. Then we've got Optimism. I have talked about this Optimism short already on YouTube, and I still keep that open. I don't think that as to date, which is the 5th of June 2023, that the team and the early backers have already sold. Most of the price depreciation we see so far is probably from short speculative money such as us. There's also other very profit-making positions. This one, for example, I'm not going to disclose this openly now. This is part of Premium. Here's another one that we expect to very soon go further down. Again, part of Premium. And so that's why the relatively high price of $75 per month is worth it. There is real alpha, real outperformance in the Premium membership. If you've got $5,000 that you're willing to dedicate to crypto investments, then I'm very sure that the money that you spend on Premium will more than make up for it. The crypto market is simply that inefficient. It's way easier to beat crypto than it is, for example, the stock market, where there's now so many professional investors already in it. But I do understand how spending $75 on a monthly subscription might feel somewhat daunting at the beginning. But I did see how most people simply stay subscribed for the long term because of all of those opportunities. And so here comes the deal. If you are unhappy with the content that comes with Premium, if you are dissatisfied, then I will refund you 100% if you message me in the first week. So you sign up, you watch all the videos, you download all the content you want, you check out the Telegram channels, etc. And if after 1